Every second counts in Arena Breakout. To play your best, you need a HUD layout that enhances your vision, reflexes, and how smoothly you play. Imagine trying to work in a messy room. It's hard to focus, right? The same thing happens in a game when your HUD is cluttered. It can get in your way, make it hard to aim, and make it tough to find what you need. In this video, I'll share how I found my perfect HUD by experimenting with different settings and finally discovering a setup that not only boosted my accuracy and reaction time, but also made the game way more fun to play. Want to improve your HUD layout? Then stick around, because the first step to mastering your new HUD is to think about how you hold your phone or tablet when you're playing. It might sound weird, but in Arena Breakout, matches can last a while, sometimes up to 30 minutes if you're lucky enough to survive that long, way longer than most mobile games. Since you'll be playing for a while, comfort is key. You don't want to get hand cramps or any pain. How does your hand feel after 15 minutes? An hour. You might be wondering, what does this have to do with my HUD? Well, the way you hold your phone actually affects your HUD setup. I've been a 4-finger HUD player for about 4 years now, and I hold my phone differently depending on the game. Battle Royale, point and shoot games, you name it. In Arena Breakout, I have a more relaxed grip. I use both index fingers for shooting and moving, my left thumb for the joystick, my right thumb for utilities and aiming. The rest of my fingers chill on the back of my phone, and I put my elbows on a pillow for comfy gaming sessions. Claw grip or not, just find a way to hold your phone that doesn't tire your hands. The best grip is the one that feels most natural and comfortable for you. Alright, now that you've got a good grip on your phone, let's dive into the most important part of mastering a new HUD, button placement. Think of it like this. You're trying to hit a moving target, but your hand is shaking like crazy. That's what it's like when your buttons are all over the place. You'll miss shots, hit the wrong buttons, and you won't be able to react quickly enough. I learned this the hard way when I was trying to lean an ADS manually. I'll talk more about the auto ADS while leaning setting later in the video. But for now, let's get back to those buttons. Your thumb is your main tool, so put frequently used buttons like fire, ADS, jump, and crouch within easy reach. If you're using a 4-finger HUD, you can check out mine as an example. So here's my setup. I use my top left index for firing and moving, my top right for leaning and aiming down sights, my left thumb for the joystick, and my right thumb for pretty much everything else, swiping, tapping, and all the different utilities and actions. Make sure you don't put your buttons too close together, or you'll end up hitting the wrong ones by accident. But hey, everyone's different, so experiment and find what works best for you. Oh, and one more thing. The fire button can be super sensitive, so adjust the size until it feels right. Now, you might be thinking, okay, I've got my buttons placed, but they're kind of hard to see. Well, that brings us to the button opacity. You want your buttons to be visible, but not so bright that they block your view. If you're new to customizing your HUD, try setting the opacity somewhere between 45% and 60%. Then, gradually lower it until you find the perfect balance. I've got most of my buttons, if not all of them, set to 35% opacity. Works great for me. You might hear people say that you should keep your button opacity the same across your whole HUD. This can help keep things clean and uncluttered, which can be really helpful for gameplay. Sure, a consistent opacity looks clean and gives you better visibility, but it can actually make your experience a whole lot worse. Why? Well, there are over 48 buttons you can press in this game, and it takes a ton of time to master your HUD. You might need hundreds, even thousands of hours. Here's my advice. Don't make all your button opacities the same. Instead, make the buttons you use most often a bit brighter. This includes things like grenades, medkits, and your backpack since it has a bunch of different options. You might also want to brighten up your jump, crouch, creep, flashlight, and laser buttons. The key is to find a good balance. Make your most used buttons a bit brighter and dim the ones you don't use as often. This will make it easier to see and use the important stuff. But where exactly should you put all these buttons? Let's talk about dividing your screen. It sounds complicated, but it's just about organizing your HUD so it's easy to use and doesn't block your view. Imagine your phone screen is a pizza. You want to cut it into different slices for different things, aiming, moving, and using utilities. Why is this important? Well, it's all about organizing your buttons to reduce clutter. By dividing your screen, you get a cleaner HUD. This makes it easier to find the buttons you need and focus on the game. Less clutter means fewer accidental taps too. For example, I split my screen into 4 sections. The bottom left is where my left thumb hangs out to control the joystick. The bottom right has my backpack, weapon slots, reload, and all my other utility buttons. And at the top left and right, I've got all the action buttons I need for aiming and moving. Once you've nailed down your button placement and screen division, you're basically good to go. It just takes a bit of time for your muscle memory to catch up. But here's a setting that might throw a wrench in your plans. So why did I change my HUD in the first place? Well, even way back in the early seasons of Arena Breakout, I used this setting called Auto ADS while peeking. It's pretty self-explanatory, but for those who don't know, when you toggle or hold down the lean button, you automatically aim down sights. This makes it way easier to take fights when you're peeking out from cover. This saves you a ton of time, since you don't have to press ADS button and lean at the same time. It makes life way easier because you don't have to memorize any combos. This means you can pick angles faster and even turn the tables on someone trying to ambush you. Okay, so Auto ADS has some downsides too. Auto ADS while peeking takes away your flexibility. You can't peek around corners without aiming down sights or hip firing while leaning. You might struggle in close quarters combat with low ergo weapons, especially if they're not fully modified. This is even more true in fights where precision is key. This setting can be a blessing and a curse. I'll admit, I still use it sometimes when my brain isn't firing on all cylinders. But ultimately, if you want to get the most out of your gameplay in your new HUD, I suggest turning this setting off. This will help you train your raw skills and become more versatile. It's your call though. So, you've got your HUD all set up, now what? To get used to your HUD quickly, spend some time in the training mode. This is the perfect place to double check for any buttons blocking your view and make sure you're not hitting the wrong buttons. Instead of just shooting dummies, try this warm-up routine. It'll help you find your groove and build good habits for your raids. It's super simple. First, turn off your aim assist. This will keep your aim from slowing down when you look at the dummies. Next, just run in circles like this. Swipe towards the dummy, then lean and shoot. Keep doing this until you can do it without even looking at your buttons. Once you've got that down, mix it up with some crouching, jumping, and even moving between cover. Make this a habit before every raid, and you'll see results in no time. But the training mode is just the beginning. Want to really test out your new HUD? Once you're done with your warm-up, check out the latest 4v4 Team Deathmatch mode. It's a great way to improve your PvP skills, which are super important for raids. Plus, it's an awesome practice for your new HUD. But what exactly is 4v4 TDM? For those who don't know, to enter a match, you pay 15,000 coins. You can't bring any of your own gear, unlike in a normal raid. After that, you and 7 other players will spawn in a smaller area of a familiar map. You'll start with 3 players on your team and 4 on the enemy team. 8 players in total. Your goal here is to team up with your squad and score points by taking out the enemy team. If you wipe out the entire enemy team, you score a point. The first team to score 4 points wins. There are 12 different primary weapons to choose from, along with the secondary weapons, each with its own unique balance adjustments. If you want my recommendation, try the AK-74N or the RPK loadout. These are great starter weapons because they're well balanced and come with solid equipment. Wait for the countdown, then go get those kills. But if PvP isn't your thing, there's another game mode that's perfect for practicing with your new HUD. Covert Ops. Covert Ops is arguably the best mode for getting used to the new HUD in PvE. This mode forces you to adapt whatever gear you're given, which could be anything from a shotgun to an SMG. What is that scope? It's a great way to learn how to move around with your new HUD without risking your gear or coins. You might even find some valuable loot along the way, or even event items you can trade in, like what I'm doing right here. Speaking of losing your gear and coins, Arena Breakout just released a new game mode with the Season 7 update called Secure Ops. This game mode is perfect for players who are afraid of losing their precious gear in raids. How does it work? Basically, your gear is safe at the end of the raid, whether you escape or not. No more losing your stuff just because you got unlucky or run into a tough opponent. Oh, and one more thing. You'll still lose all of your consumables like ammos and meds. Any extra loot you will find will be converted to coins, but at a discounted price. Are you worried about facing squads decked out in top tier gear and thermals? Don't sweat it. Players are limited to 80k coins worth of gear and supplies. This keeps things fair by preventing rich players with expensive gear from dominating. Since you can't lose your gear, it all comes down to skill, tactics, and gunplay, not how much money you've spent. This makes it perfect for improving your gameplay with your new HUD. If you're not a fan of Secure Ops and prefer the classic loot and shoot experience, or if you're watching this after Season 7, get ready to key some of your hard-earned gear and coins goodbye. It can be frustrating and slow down your progress, but trust me, it's worth it. There's no easy path to improvement. You'll struggle, have bad days, and wonder why you even bother changing your HUD. You might even be tempted to go back to your old ways, but stick with it, and you'll come out a better player in the end.